Hi, and welcome to Entry Point's online virtual service. Today is Sunday, January 16th, 2022. Now, my name is Sean Peniel, and as you know, we are in the middle of the great January virtual service marathon. What that means is that we've been watching the COVID numbers, and we've determined that in order to keep everyone safe and sound, we're going to do all virtual services through the month of January. We're not quite sure yet what February looks like, but we are watching the numbers carefully and considering your safety. So we'll be announcing that soon as to whether or not we'll be able to gather in person at Conner Prairie safely again for February. All right, today we are honoring the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In his speech entitled The Future of Integration, King said, "The time is always right to do what is right." Let's examine what those words might mean and how we might best respond to them.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. remains one of the great civil rights and nonviolent leaders in world history. Through personal abuse and arrest and attacks, he paid the ultimate price, all in the name of injustice, peaceful protest, and action. His accomplishments and teachings resonate now more than ever.
The time is always right to do
what is right.
Only in darkness can you see the stars.
I look to a day when people will not be judged by the color of their skin,
but by the content of their character.
There comes a time when one must take a position
that is neither safe, nor political, nor popular.
But he must take it because his conscience tells him it is right.
Our lives begin to end the day we become silent
about things that matter.
Somewhere I read that the greatness of America was the
right to protest for rights.
In the end,
we will remember not the words of our enemies,
but the silence of our friends.
We hold
these truths to be so evident
that all people are created equal.
Dear God, you have given us so much to be grateful for in this life. And as we celebrate the birthday of Martin Luther King, we thank you for the wisdom and theology that you have given to us through him. The dream he preached about is a description of the kind of place where everyone would live together in peace. I don't remember a time in my life when that dream seemed more desirable or elusive. What a dilemma it is for humanity that you've given us so much to live for and to love in this world. Yet we've created so many obstacles to enjoying our lives. Why is it so difficult for us to understand that it is by respecting and caring for others that we create a world where we can be cared for and respected? How can it be that people who claim to embrace the golden rule can nonetheless ignore the needs and feelings of others who are not like themselves? God, give us the courage to examine our hearts and to choose to give respect to even those who we don't understand or relate to. We ask for the wisdom to know that creating a world of peace and love is hard work, and that we may need to choose to shift our thoughts and beliefs that prevent us from showing compassion for all. Let this quote from Martin Luther King himself guide us toward a path to a better way of living. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Amen.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stepped up to a microphone at Oberlin College in Oberlin, Ohio on October 22nd, 1964, and said these words: "The time is always right to do what is right." King was concerned about the upcoming election. Riots had occurred in 6 major cities in America, and 3 civil rights workers in Mississippi had been murdered. King's speech, entitled "The Future of Integration," was heard by an estimated 2,500 students, faculty, and visitors. Finney Chapel was filled to capacity as soon as the doors opened, but WOBC broadcast the speech over the radio to Hall Auditorium, as well as a meeting room in Kettering Hall of Science. The time is always right to do what is right. King was encouraging those in attendance to sustain the nonviolent fight for equality. King repeated this phrase when he returned to Oberlin College for commencement in June 1965. After imploring the graduates to remain diligent and active in the fight for equality, King said those words again. The main points of Dr. Martin Luther King's platform remained consistent throughout his crusade for civil rights. Every time he spoke, he challenged his audience to consider the value of Black people and to do whatever we can to address segregation and racial injustice. Sadly, we continue to fight racial injustice today. We are still struggling with riots and violence because of racial inequity. I suspect, actually I know, that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. would be disappointed beyond belief in the minimal change that has occurred in our society over the past 67 years since he became active in the civil rights movement in 1955. The time is always right to do what is right. Now, what exactly does that mean? Let's listen to an excerpt of the speech given by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
The hour has come for everybody and for all institutions, for the public sector and the private sector, to work to get rid of racism. Now, if we are to do it, we must honestly admit certain things and get rid of certain myths that have constantly been disseminated all over our nation. One is the myth of time. It is the notion that only time can solve the problem of racial injustice. And there are those who often sincerely say to the Negro and his allies in the white community, why don't you slow up? Stop pushing things so fast. Only time can solve the problem. And if you will just be nice and patient and continue to pray, in 100 or 200 years, the problem will work itself out. Well, that is an answer to that myth. And it is that time is neutral. It can be used either constructively or destructively. So we must help time and realize that the time is always right to do right.
Does the emphasis of this phrase fall on doing what is right? When my son Luke was in elementary school, his principal concluded every morning announcement with the comment, "Have a good day and do the right thing." Do the right thing is a good reminder for elementary kids and for all of us. It's certainly better than encouraging people to go off the rails and do the wrong thing. Do the right thing has become a popular mantra in our culture. I think the phrase carries with it the understanding that it isn't always easy to do the right thing. Sometimes it's a lot easier to do the wrong thing or to do nothing at all. The time is always right to do the right thing. YouTube tutor Nick P. has this to say about this quotation. I think this quotation means that we should be brave enough to do the right thing when we can identify what is the right thing. Sometimes We argue amongst ourselves what is the right thing and what is the wrong thing. If we truly tried to do the right thing, even on a small scale, we can become better people, and hopefully our actions will spread to others. Nick, I think you're on to something. Throughout his life, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. encouraged healing and compassion, kindness and service, always guiding us to think of the needs of other people. In 2013, 8-year-old Cosette Baris entered an essay contest sponsored by her local newspaper, the Missoulian, in Missoula, Montana. The assignment was to explain the meaning of the quotation by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The time is always right to do what is right. Here is what Cosette wrote. I think the meaning of this is to show people it's never too late to do what is right. I feel as if I will never give up when I hear those words. If you do something wrong, it's never too late to fix it. That is one meaning. These words make you feel as if you are a hero. The words represent that Martin Luther King Jr. brought goodness to the world. Everybody can do something right if they put their mind to it. It doesn't matter what age you are or where you're from, it's always time to make a change in the world. You can make a change just by doing good and what is right. That's what I think about the words, the time is always right to do what is right. Cosette, I think you nailed it. I believe these words carry an admonition to stop procrastinating and get going with the business of fixing the situation, the mess of inequity, the struggle of imbalance. I believe the best way to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. today is to keep working or get working to fix the problem of racial injustice, of not seeing each other's dignity, rights, and value. Yes, the task is daunting. To be brave, to have challenging and difficult conversations, to be acutely aware of our own racial biases and privilege. The time is always right to do what is right. I challenge all of us to consider these words in the coming days and then to figure out how we can apply those words to ourselves right now in 2022. How can we join in the work to be done? How can we, like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., bring goodness to the world? May we follow the simple instructions offered to us in John 13:34. Love one another. I leave you with these powerful words of encouragement from author Diana Butler Bass. Keep doing what is right. You aren't broken. You're just worn down, sad, and tired. Even in the midst of it all, there's still love, a healing God, good people, and a beautiful purpose for your life. You are being called to be your best self as leader, friend, and neighbor. Tell the truth with intelligence, assurance, integrity, and insistent resolve. Act with compassion and courage. That's our path to real hope. The time is always right to do what is right. Amen.
Today is a remembrance of Dr. King.
Today I made up my mind to be better than before.
Today I'm reminded even a bullet can't stop a dream, and that Dr. King would still be marching if he wasn't in the grave.
Today I woke up dreaming.
I stopped sleeping and got up on my feet
and realized I had a lot of work to do.
So today, what would you do? I choose love.
I choose love.
I choose love.
Thanks so much for joining us this week on Entry Point Faith. I really hope that you enjoyed this message and that you found inspiration in it, and you'll be able to take that with you through the upcoming week. And speaking of inspiration, join us next Sunday, January 23rd, where our message will be, Sometimes Happiness is Too Loud. Curious what's that's all about? Me too. So join us next week to find out all about it. All right, until we meet again, my friends, my name is Sean Peniel. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time.